Welcome. My name is Penelope Chatterton. Welcome to Awaken the Dream. I'm so happy to be here, and I have gratitude to Tim Riley, my director, who seems to know my moves before I do. He's great and a good friend, and I'm grateful. And Liz Parker, who wrote the book, The Introduction to the Infinite Way, which is to help folks weave their way through all that material. 50 books, tons of lectures. I mean, it just goes on and on. So Marty and Liz help out, and you can be in touch with them through an address in that book to join a group if you don't have one, because sometimes they're hard to find. Then we have Acropolis Books, who are heirs to everything Joel ever did. So thank you, Michael Krupp, for starting all of this, and thank you to Acropolis Books. And anything you need, friends, that's where you go. So today, we're talking about spiritual fruitage through understanding. It's a powerful lecture, and I don't know, Joel was, of course, at his best, and I can't say enough about what an instrument he has been for the world. I mean, religions have changed because of the infinite way and Christian Science and all the New Age thinking. We've gone from being stuck in the mud for centuries on beliefs. Centuries. And I was fascinated. He said the Assyrian mystics, way back 15,000 years or so before Christ, were also dealing with this dimension and finding their way to be mystics. So Jesus certainly did a fabulous job, and many, many, many mystics also do. So when he talked about the wayfarer getting lost on the way, he wanted us to think about, how are you doing with the principles? Are you walking on water? Are you having inner peace? Are you struggling? Have you got pain? How hard is this? And I think what I got from this lecture is a lot of sympathy for what we're up against, and that we can do it if we get the principles. It's revolutionary. It's almost shocking what Joel came up with. It just defies what we are used to, as far as knowing that there's a wisdom that knows our every single move of every single person. There is a God that loves us and knows everything. And there's also one power. The principles say there's one power. It's impersonal, and I've never heard Joel say that before. The power of love is impersonal, which allows us to surrender disease, illness, anything we think is negative. We can let it go and know it's not real. Then we have the presence of God, which is constant. No matter where you are, in sin, in death, in anything, being a bad doobie, God is there, always with you, and will never, ever leave you. And I have to tell you, we're his children. Can you imagine a God so awesome that he knows every single one of us and what we need to do to find our life here? We were thought of way before this incarnation, and we will be eternal after this incarnation, and we've been around for hundreds of years, since the world began, since God created an amazingly divine spiritual world. God is spirit, and that's brand new. When you think of how the mind works in this dimension, where we make up stuff that's human and mortal, we've got a God that's a spirit. So how do you know you're finding him? I'll tell you how you know. The only way to get there, and please listen carefully, is to meditate. There's no other way to find the presence of God but in stillness and quiet. You meditate, you commune, you share, you're intimate. You know you're connected. You and the God within you are one. You and God are one. And he's knocking on your consciousness all the time. So as Paul said, pray without ceasing. Pray without ceasing. So today we're going to think about being constantly aware. Now, here's where, when I started out, I thought, yes, there is a challenge. Every day I keep working on it. And every day I don't remember every minute, and I'm working on that. And I think what we're all trying to do is find a way to remember by finding a mission that we've been given. God is interesting, and Joel said something that really kind of surprised him. He was driving, the stuff that comes down the tube for that guy, he said he heard the voice say, "He performeth that which he would have me do." And then he heard something else. "He performeth that which is personal to me." He had to pull over, get out his concordance and look it up. Now, the performing one was in Job 23:14, the one about performing us, or perfecting us, is Psalms 138:8. I got that. Anyway, if you Googled it, you could find where to find it. But anyway, what he's saying is, you know, when God wants us to do something, we don't go to him and say, "Hey, I want to do this," because he's not going to hear that. He wants us to do what he gives us to do. We're working for God. We're employed. So think about that. God has an assignment for every single one of us about being conscious, about obliterating fear. We have something to do for God, for humanity, for the whole divine world. Because being eternal, we've got our part to share. We have a part to do. We can do that. And what about this perfecting us? Perfecting us means that we remember God is the only wisdom. We don't have to ask for a thing. I mean, that's human. We don't want to ask for supply. We don't want to ask for health for our families. We don't do that. We go to God and say, "What have you got in store for me? Because I'm working for you, and you know my needs. Every single need I've got, you know. I don't have to ask you." And you know what? You can surprise us too, because you can fulfill needs that we didn't realize or were conscious of. Then he talks about the one power. Now, the one power is the power of love. It's impersonal. It's been given to the world. A disease can dissolve. All these horrible things that we can think of in the human realm can dissolve, knowing that one power is the power of love, and it's impersonal. First time I've heard Joel say that. And it's real, and it's love, but it can obliterate fear. Then let's go to that ever-present God with us. And one thing that's very interesting to me is how religions have changed through the years. We have centuries of misinformation, of begging for stuff, and it hasn't worked. Prayers haven't been answered. And I think because of spiritual healing and New Age thinking and Christian Science and Joel and so many wonderful teachers, the Course in Miracles, we're being told and taught that we have all of these principles within us, because that's who we are. We are love. We're not sick. We've got abundance. We've got it all. If we get out of the way. Now, it's kind of interesting to think about it, isn't it? We have to get out of the way and say to God, "Okay, we're in this together. You know my needs. I won't ask." And then what do we do with our days? How do we become more inner? We practice meditation. If you don't do that, you won't get any of this. Joel was very blunt about that with his class. Forget it if you don't get the fact that you have to be inner, you have to meditate, you have to be still. God is a spirit, and he's not going to show up the way your mind might think he will show up. He will show up in an interesting spiritual way where your soul powers will kick in. Now, that's an interesting thought. That you can't describe. That you can't predict. And that's what makes it so exciting. Your soul powers kick in, and magic happens, and miracles happen. And who of us do not want miracles? Who of us don't want to walk on water and feel protected and be open and listening to that still, small inner voice that's constantly sharing what our day can look like, how we can think, and to remember our perfection, our wholeness. You know, we're hypnotized here, brutally hypnotized with all kinds of negative thinking, all kinds of fear about diseases and illness and war. Oh my God, war. Hate. We all know how that's going on. It's just prevalent. We don't want that. We have to see through that. The worst person you know is divine. Think about that. Practice. I have a couple I'm working on. Yeah, practice seeing the divine in everybody, because that is who they are. They may act out, they may not know who they are, but that's not your job. Your job is to raise consciousness with the world. That's our assignment. The infinite way is telling us that. God is telling us that. You are working for God. And if you don't know your mission yet, that's okay. I didn't know it for years. I practiced all kinds of spiritual wonders. And then I read one of Joel's books, 10 years ago, and I had to sit down because I was so blown away with how I vibrated to that. And that's been it ever since. And I keep doing this, and I'll do it as long as I'm supposed to, and I'm open to however long that is. I do not know. All I know is I can't care. I'm here today. I'm loving this lecture on spiritual fruitage. I'm going to start talking like Joel. I love the way he says fruitage. Fruitage is, what result are you getting from practicing the principles? What are you getting? Are you getting guided? Are you walking on water? What's happening? Have you let go of all this stuff in your head that's going crazy or has been hypnotized? So I think Joel was trying to be sensitive to us today. You know, that's a lot to work through. He says when you first get on this path, there can be pain. I certainly know that. It can be awkward. It might not work for a while. But that's why I think this process will take us over, and I'll try and explain that if I can. The process, it has been given to us. So if we start it, and if we find ways to share, you can write a book, you can be a preacher, you can do anything that shows love to one another. That means you're on the path and you're closing fear. Share love anywhere and however you want to. And that way something will click with you where you might find something that says, oh my God, I've got to write this book because this has come to me, that I can do that by loving God and knowing God is directing me. So my friends, commune, meditate. Let's get rid of the earth plane, which is loaded with fear and war and hate. Now that's a challenge today, and we have to take the worst person you know, as I say, and put him in light, or her. Just know how whole they are. They're just lost. They will show up. They will grow. You may never see it. They may have to come back. I have been here before. I remember that. I'm going to be here again when I'm out of here, because that's the wonderful gift of the infinite way. We are eternal. We are forever. We have been created by God, and we will be with God, the divine source of all, forever. So find a way, my friends. I think I'm going to be your coach today. What do you love to do? Where is your talent? Are you a singer? Can you dance? Create. We're creative beings too. That's another gift we've been given by God. We're very creative beings. There's nothing we can do that we set our minds to. We can be disciplined. But the big thing to be disciplined about is quiet. So let's think about that quiet. I mean, we've got TVs, we've got all kinds of nonsense going on in the world. And that may not be the biggest draw, but I am finding the more I meditate and the more quiet I am, the more it's calling me. Because I'm finding the TV is sort of going away. There's certain things I can get lost in and have silly time. But to meditate is interesting. You're quiet. You want grace. Grace is your sufficiency. And you know, I laugh when Joel says, relax. I'm about the most unrelaxed person I know, but I love it when he says relax. So I try to breathe. Breathing is good. Deep breathing. Close your eyes. Envision everything being perfect and beautiful. And then talk to God. And have it out. Anything that's bothering you. I believe in vulnerability within your heart. The heart is heard. And also just listen for the still small voice. Your prayer every day is, let's go. What's up? Hold my hand. First thing you wake up, in the middle of the night, wake up and say, here I am, I'm listening. Enjoy the community that you have with all souls. There's another point. We're all connected to one another. We're one divine being with God. We're His children. And we're all connected. So the way we see someone is the way we see ourselves. So let me get to that one. What goes out from us comes back to us. So if you're going to be negative, guess who gets the beating? You do. You want to love one another. That love will circle right back to your heart and you'll feel good. So that's something that is helpful, that we know that. It's an automatic thing. It doesn't feel good to be negative or to be judgmental. So love one another. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Walk on water today, my friends. Love thy neighbor. You are nothing but love. And I like the fact that Joel mentioned this impersonal God that can obliterate disease, can obliterate the things we fear if we tune in. We have to claim perfection. We have to do our job. We have a job to do. And I don't think it's an easy job, but it gets easier with work. And it takes us over, which I like and I need. I need to feel that. There's a lot going on in everyone's life that is hard. And we need to forgive ourselves for thinking that way. And we can improve our morale by changing our thoughts. So, my friends, the wayfarer way back, the Assyrians said, hey, are you on the path or aren't you? How's it going? You know, are you having miracles? Have you got the principles of the infinite way? If you don't, you can work on them. Now, Joel has mentioned some people are very, very divine mystics and still have problems. So all he can say is it still means they're good and evil are going on somewhere in that soul's mind. That has to go. And again, I think the sensitivity to being hypnotized in this dimension can't be said enough. I think we need compassion for ourselves, for the work we have to do, for how hard it is. And yet, gosh, those days come when you walk on water and you say, oh my God, the way God is talking to me. And this is what I want to sort of wind down with. The way Spirit works with you, it's the kingdom of God. Spirit has an interesting soul capacity, a way of getting through to you in invisible ways. That's not from the head. It's from the soul. You're connected. I mean, miracles can happen where you say, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. I mean, you can hear it, you can touch it, but it's not soul, it's not human power, it's not mind power, it's soul power, where you can get messages and feelings through the soul capacity that knows the truth. And if you open up and listen, open that door and walk on water today. Why not? It can be done. And I'm a working Taurus, so listen up. Discipline. I remember when I finished the Boston Marathon, how hard I had to work, and I thought, well, you've got that, girl. I was old too, but I did it. And all I can say is discipline pays off. You know, try it in any capacity that you need and serve the world however you feel you can. That's you. You know, nobody can tell you to be a preacher or an artist or writer. Only you know. And I would ask, go within yourself and say, come on, I want to work for you because you've given me a job. What would you like me to do? What am I good at? How can I help change the human realm to something that's totally divine? And totally divine it is. Isn't that interesting to think that everything is perfect? We're here. We've been here for centuries. We have a lot to cut through. And all I can say is religions are changing. Spiritual healing is coming up. We're growing. We're growing. So my friends, all I can do is ask you to do your part. And why shouldn't you? It's thrilling to do your part. I cannot say anything more but how thrilling it is to go to this realm and let go of the mortal life that has negativity and fear and hate galore. All I can say is the joy of projecting love says everything. So my friends, I'm going to check out. But thank you for listening to me, and thanks Liz Parker, and thanks Acropolis Books, and thanks Tim, and thank you all for being interested in the infinite way, because it's quite remarkable. And thank you. I cannot say enough for the instrument that Joel was. When I think of what he channeled, it blows my mind. Talk about an assignment. Again, thank you, my friends. Talk again soon.